Yes, so I'm going to present about the Uganda's contribution to the IGS network. I'll start with the infrastructure that we have in the country as of now. We have one IGS station that is located in the western part of the country. Then we have 40 government coast stations, and then 46 coast stations in the private sector. This is owned by Eagle Coast and Subnet. In total, we have around 87 coast stations in the country. The IGS station that we have currently is located in Bara, which is in the western part of the country. It was installed in 2001 and is being used for scientific research, crustal motion studies. This is more crucial because Uganda is located on the two plates, the Nubian plate and the Somalian plate. So there is some work that is being done by this IGS station. And also, this IGS station was used as a control in establishment of the national geodetic infrastructure that we have, as we shall see in the presentation. Briefly about the network that we have. This is the Uganda Geodetic Reference Frame. We started in 2010 with phase 0. This came about after we realized that 70% of the infrastructure that was in Act 1960 was destroyed, and hence there was a need to establish a new geodetic network. So this was tied to ITRF 2005 at epoch 2010.0 in 2010. 9 zero order points were used, and because most of our data was already in the old system, which is Act 1960, 7 transformation parameters were created to help with transfer to the new system. Then in 2019, 12 coast stations were installed. So this is when we first installed the coast stations we had. And around 426 passive controls were as well established in the country. Focusing still in 2019, CSF5, which is a transformation model, was created to ease with transformation from Act 1960 system to ITRF. And we had one data center which is located in Kampala that was controlling these 12 stations that we had. However, we faced some issues such as the power issues. If we had power issues at the NCC center, all our stations would be off, and hence we had to also establish or enhance on the framework that we had. This brought about now phase 2 with many other factors that were considered at the time. With phase 2, we established another center. So currently there are 2 centers that are being used on our network. Then we also installed solar panels to help with power issues because some stations were facing some issues related to power. 28 more stations were established in 2023, hence densifying more the network. So with that 40 stations currently in the Uganda Geodetic Reference Frame, well distributed across the country, all surveyors, regardless wherever they are getting centimeter accuracy in their data. And description cards have been created for each station and for each passive control so that coordinates are easily accessible by all surveyors or geospatial users. Again, in 2023, our data was uploaded to EPSG register and hence can be used by other sectors. So this is making our network more reliable and more reliable as it is distributed across. In addition, because of network issues, we have two communication means. We have fiber as well as 3G network. Enlightening more on the transformation, because this was also not easy transforming from one system to another. Transformation parameters were created from the old system to the new system. However, since 70% of our infrastructure was destroyed at the beginning, it was a bit hard to do the transformation, since the points that were obtained to be able to carry out to be able to create transformation parameters were not well distributed across the country, and some were actually hard to obtain. So about 11 points were used in phase 1 to create the transformation, and this accuracy of these transformation parameters was not as good. We were reaching around several meters. So in 2019, with the installation of phase 2, with the upgrade, 18 points were used now to create another set of transformation parameters, and this is giving us an accuracy of 1.2 meters. So we have an issue of transformation parameters, as more of the controls that could have been used to create a better set of transformation parameters were actually destroyed. And the other thing making it worse, due to the uneven distribution across the country, you find like one sector of the country has a better accuracy when you're transforming from the old system, which is ACT 1960, to ITRF, whereas a different part, like from the image, another different, like in the southwest, there is no point that was used in this part, meaning the accuracy when transforming is actually worse. We go about 2 meters in this region. There is a call to improve on the transformation parameters, but the current state, this is where we are. So the 40 stations that we have are in 4 types. We have a type that is built on the ground. Others are on buildings, but installed differently, as you can see in the presentation. Each station, we have an antenna, and then the cabinet where we have a receiver and other devices that are being used, such as the router, and others. So mostly with an antenna and the receiver, of which we're using Leica antennas and Leica receivers for UGRF. Okay. Before I move on to the private sector, yes. So all the 40 stations we have currently are both Leica antenna and Leica receivers. We have 2 communication means, that is fiber and 3G. We have both grid power and solar power, and we have 2 data centers located in 2 different places. One is in Kampala, the other one is in Entebbe, which is a mirror of the one in Kampala. And the network, as we have 40 well-distributed stations, it is making it more reliable. Moving on to the private network. The private sector is contributing about 46 co-stations in the country. As we can all see, most of them are concentrated in the towns or populated places, and less in the less populated spaces. So most of them are within the central part of the country. Subnet is using CHC antennas, and EagleCoast uses ComNav antenna. Discussions have been held and guidelines have been set on installation of co-stations. This was more to alert to alert us on, or for us to be more conscious on which companies are coming up and which type of antennas and receivers they're using. So as we're doing this, we're actually relating with the IGS guidelines that have been set. So most of the work we are doing, we are working following the IGS guidelines that have been set, so as we can also make ours. So as we noticed, most of all these private sectors, their antennas have also been listed on the other list of antennas to be used. And we are more conscious on more that will be around, so that we are able to keep within the guidelines and the standards that have been set. Our contribution to IGS as a country: first, we have already a station. We already have a station in Bara, and 4 stations from the country have been submitted. That is Arua, Fort Portal, Gulu, and Entebbe. Some of these stations that have been distributed are around the area where we suspect the other plates to be separating from the Nubian plate and the Somalian plate. So I believe this will also help in the tectonic plate monitoring. And as they have been submitted, we are waiting to see if they have been approved. I think this will be within this month. We shall be able to see if the 4 stations have been approved to be added. So in case they are approved, that means we shall be having 5 IGS stations in the country that will be contributing a lot to the realization of ITRF. Again, the Nubian and Somalian plate monitoring, as well as other sectors such as deformation monitoring, ionosphere map computations. So our stations are going to contribute a lot to the IGS network. Briefly, that's what I can say about the Uganda Geodetic Reference Frame. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much, Edna. Thank you very much for your contribution to the IGS network. Yes, Camille may correct me, but I think that the 5 stations were one of the more contributing countries from Africa. Thank you very much, Edna. Is there any comment or question for Edina before we move to our next speaker?
As usual, the questions, feel free to raise your hand using the feature in Microsoft Teams or to write it in the chat. Aslam?
Yes, thank you very much for that wonderful presentation. Can you advise whether there is an attempt to ensure that any commercial networks and the official government network, the reference frames are coordinated? Is there that attempt, or because what you don't want is that various networks gives coordinates in different reference frames, causing misalignment and confusion? Can you maybe comment on that, please? Thank you.
Edinah, if you are speaking, you are muted right now.
Sorry. Yes, about the private sector now, we have, I would say maybe there are 2 systems in the country currently, though we are moving more to ITRF, so Act 1960 and ITRF. The private sector are more still on Act 1960. However much the transition is still happening. We are working more in ITRF and we are still transitioning. So the government, because it is more of the, it has more the upper hand, it is able to control the private tech sector to move to one reference frame, So I think within a month, these private sectors will also be aligning with the Uganda Geodetic, with the reference frame that we have currently in the country, and they're also broadcasting corrections in ITRF 2005 at Epoch 2010, so that whichever part of the country we are all working within that same reference frame. Thank you.
Zuhair has a question as well.
Kami, I have a question related to the reference frame for Uganda. What are the reasons for selecting ITRF 2005 and the Epoch 2010.0? Why not more recent realization like ITRF 2014 or better ITRF 2020?
Okay, thank you. The geodetic network, the Uganda Geodetic Reference Frames Network, we started in 2010, and in 2010 these other recent realizations had actually not come up yet. 2014, 2020, at the time there was ITRF 2005. So in 2010, what was around by then was ITRF 2005. So the country aligned to that recent realization of ITRF. Now, whether we move to a different realization with time, that is a discussion that is to be held within the country. But currently, because in 2010 that's what was available, that's where we are. Maybe with time we shall be able to move to a new realization of ITRF. Thank you.
Okay, very acceptable answer. Thank you.
We have a couple others questions in the chat, but for the sake of time, we might keep them for the discussion time.
Okay, thank you very much, Edinah. Thank you very much, Camille, for helping us during that very interesting conversation.